So it appears that a cruise line with one single small design change has potentially completely done away with the possibility of man overboard, or at the minimum, drastically lessened the percentage of man overboard situations that take place on board their cruise ships. However, some people have argued that it comes at a cost that you all have already paid for. I'm going to talk about the details and little giblets in today's video because, as many of you know, I just disembarked the British cruise ship, the P&O Iona. And after talking to a lot of people, they said that this ship has never had a man overboard situation for one change that they made on board. By the way, guys, I did just embark, like I said, this ship. I do have a full review that I just posted yesterday. Make sure you guys go check it out. And well, I did say the ship was a little boring for what it was. There is, of course, cultural differences, as me being an American citizen, primarily sailing with American lines. However, it's one of those things where I think it was more of an operating issue that I personally just didn't like. Make sure you guys go check it out and let me know your thoughts. Also, one little tiny side note here. If you guys notice, I am wearing my mic. Believe it or not, a lot of people are arguing all the time. Why do you always hold the mic? Get a more expensive lapel mic. This is a lapel mic, but as you can hear, I don't like wearing it because it kind of muffles the voice a little bit and it makes me look a little bit too much like a nerd. I'm a cool nerd. I like to have a little bit of style and flow to my videos when I put them out. That's why I like holding it here on this extra extension piece, which I'm going to be doing for the remainder of the video, and maybe you can hear the difference. Now, while sailing on board the P&O Iona this past week, it was indeed a beautiful ship. It's somewhat technologically advanced, brand new, built in the year 2020, didn't start taking passengers until 2021. But after doing some exploring on board, I quickly realized that there is virtually no edges, no railings on board that leads to the water that doesn't have some very tall plexiglass. I don't know the exact reason for this. It could more than likely be because of all of the wind in those areas. If you've ever sailed out of somewhere in the UK like a Southampton or a Dover and you end up going someplace down to southern Europe, there is the potential for a lot of storms and a lot of wind that, well, obviously they don't want somebody to get blown overboard, which the fact still remains. It is more of a safety issue, meaning the chances of a man overboard is very, very lessened as far as the likeliness of it happening compared to, let's say, a typical cruise ship, a Carnival Royal Caribbean, MSC, you name it, going over to some place like the Caribbean. But I do believe it's much deeper than that. I believe there is, of course, let's say, for ships sailing out of like the United States, we tend to hear about these man overboard situations over there than we do in places like Europe. So a lot of people are saying well, maybe it's a mental issue. There are a lot of people in the US that are not okay. And I'm not trying to make this some type of therapeutic video whatsoever, but I do believe there is a horse in the race, a topic of discussion for that situation in general. Because, like I said, how many times do we hear something going on a carnival ship sailing to the Caribbean from Miami versus hearing a cruise ship that is going out of Southampton, UK, going up to Northern Europe, and there is a man overboard situation, regardless of the ship? On board the P&O Iona, there is not a single location in the public areas in which there is not tall plexiglass, in which a child or even myself, I'm 5'6.5", not a very tall man, okay? But everybody, for the most part, would have a hard time. If they wanted to jump overboard or whatever the case may be, they would have to visibly be seen climbing up over the plexiglass, which would cause a lot more attention and a lot more awareness from people, preventing it from potentially happening. The only place that I saw there wasn't plexiglass was on the personal balconies that you could select and book on board. The thing about that is, with the design of the ship, there is, I believe, what's called the promenade area, the outside promenade deck, that kind of pokes out like most cruise ships, kind of like a triangle going down. It gets wider. So if somebody were to, let's say, go overboard, they would more than likely end up on the promenade deck, the lower deck, than actually going off of the ship. They do have some ground level promenade balconies. I thought they were a little strange. I think Emma Cruz, she probably did a video on that, I think like a year or two ago or something, a while back. Very, very strange accommodations. Just know that I guess if you were to book one of those, the possibility of you, a child, or anybody for that matter going overboard, well, they would just land on the other side. Man overboard situations are not common, nor are they uncommon. They happen anywhere between 25 to 26 times per year. And when it happens on a cruise ship, obviously it is a big fiasco. There is the argument right now that has it increased since, let's say, like the pandemic. Again, I hate to bring it up, but I do believe there is a mental factor because most likely when somebody has gone overboard, it usually is not an accident. I would argue that some of the most common reasons that we see a man overboard situation is due to somebody intentionally jumping, unfortunately, trying to self delete themselves. So, yes, I believe there is a mental issue mixture inside of this concoction here, meaning that, yes, when this does happen, it is sad, it is tragic, but there is ways that it could potentially be prevented. Now, is this one of them with the plexiglass situation? I personally don't know because even while talking to some passengers on board, some were okay with it because they say it's what they know, it's what they prefer. They know they're not going to, well, potentially have their vacation interrupted with a man overboard situation or somebody falling off of the cruise ship, as they typically say. I do understand that aspect, but looking at it from the inside as a consumer, I would say that at that point, you're not really getting a true view. You're looking at it through a plexiglass, which can be very difficult to clean. There's going to be smudges all over the place. You're not going to get those Instagrammable videos and pictures that you want because it's not exactly going to do the job. To be fair, this is obviously a first world problem. Do you want to see the world through a plexiglass, or do you want to see it through a balcony in which you can actually physically see it without having to see through the plexiglass? There are people that maybe may argue that you feel like a child. You're not trusted with your own life, so now they have to make sure they prevent it. But of course, I do want to hear from all of you. What do you think the solution is, or do you think this is the solution? Just have tall plexiglass that stands about 10 foot tall that's covering all of the balcony areas or the edges and railings of the cruise ships, hopefully preventing man overboard situations from happening? Or do you think that cruise ships are fine just the way that they are? Because I don't think this is an American versus Europe thing, because I've also sailed on plenty of cruise ships in Europe, whether it be from Virgin, Royal Caribbean, MSC. They have not implemented these plexiglass, I guess I want to say, boundaries and pillars for you to make sure you don't go overboard. It's only on the P&O I own, or this is the first time that I saw this, but I do wonder if the other cruise lines would adopt this same feature. Do you think they would, or do you think it'd just be better overall for the industry and prevent potentially man overboard situations? Let me know in the comment section below. Of course, hit that like button on your way out. Know that I love each and every one of you, and I have plenty of videos coming up. I'm currently on like a vacation, away from my vacation right now, and the Wi-Fi here is and I'm hanging out with some family and some good people. That being said, I will have some big videos coming up, and I hope you guys enjoy them. I'll see you later. Take it easy.